Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of In My Opinion. My name is John.
My name is Lester.
And I'm Chow.
Yes, and if you're watching this, you'll realize that today's episode looks a little different. Yeah, because firstly, split screen mode, throwback to all my 90s kids when we play PlayStation with our younger sibling. But on the other difference is that we have Chow with us today.
You're the first guest of 2021.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No way. It's already March.
Hey, don't insult me like that.
I
Calm
see your
down.
production schedule has been efficient, you know.
Anyone else who wants to be a guest
Hell
on
no.
our show, please let us know. We will try to accommodate you.
Yes.
Okay, but anyway, today we'll be talking about some sensitive topics. But before we go on, I just want to encourage everyone to follow us on Instagram. Firstly, IMO.pod.
IMO.pod.
Follow Chow on Instagram.
IMO.pod.
Yeah, follow me on Instagram.
IMO.pod.
And Alester on Instagram. Actually, Alester don't use Instagram, don't follow him.
I haven't posted since 2019. Oh my
Oh, are
goodness.
you serious?
Legit.
Can you post something today?
It's okay.
Right now?
We will think about it after that.
We'll think about it after the episode. But ladies and gentlemen, today we will be talking about something that's a little bit more sensitive and a little bit more current. But don't worry about it. We'll promise to try to be as tactful about it. But at the same time, I like to preface all my IMO episodes with just 2+1 assholes airing our opinions. So if you have anything that you disagree with, or you feel that we missed any of the points already, you feel that we are ignorant in certain aspects and you want to let us know, please have an intellectual and civil discussion in the comment section. Because I know this topic that we're discussing today, if you read the title, it's going to be a little bit divisive, and that's fine because we encourage these kind of discussions on our podcast, but we also encourage that we have intellectual discussions without getting upset or offended at each other.
Yes, I mean, that's the whole point of IMO is to go into conversations ready to have your minds changed.
That's right.
So we go into it, we read the comments with ready to get our minds changed, and hopefully you guys are ready to have your minds changed if you have a different view as well.
Open-mindedness only. If you're not open-minded, click to our other videos. You can watch
We did a nonsense video, Is Water Wet, last
I
week.
saw that
that one only open-minded. You only need to listen to us.
Yeah, that one if you're wrong. But this one, we realized that no one is right or wrong. And this is a very tough topic. These are topics that are like hardest to talk about.
Absolutely. All right, enough waffling. Lester, let's get into it.
Yeah, so for the people who don't know, we'll be talking about the Gen Y Speaks article that recently went viral. I don't even think viral is the right word. It's just super viral. I don't know how to explain it.
Trending.
Everyone was talking about it. Yeah, so it's basically written by this some background knowledge. It's written by this author, I think for a mod. It's for a mod in university.
For those that don't know, mod means module. Module means class.
class in
Yeah,
university.
she's a comm student in NUS.
Comms means communications.
Yeah, and I think she's in her final year or so.
Final year means final year.
Year 4 or year 3. who
Correct,
knows?
year 4 or year 3.
Yeah, and then she, her teacher or her professor actually decided that, it's a good article, I'm going to send it to today for the Gen Y Speaks column. And it got released, and the title is already very, I would say aggressive.
Provocative.
Yeah, this is why I don't want to be woke, don't cancel me for it. First of all, great titling, like virality 101, 100% on point. This is exactly the title that they wanted and the virality they got from it. But after that, there are a lot of people who are like, I guess, flaming her / criticizing her about the things that she wrote. So I'll be leaving the today article down below in the links. Hopefully it's still up by then. I think it will be.
It should be.
Yeah, so you guys can go and read it up while we discuss what exactly we feel. So as always, we always start with a general overarching statement of how we feel. John, how do you feel?
As I mentioned just now to you all behind camera, I feel that firstly, this is a polarizing topic where both sides are clearly misunderstanding each other. And like I know a lot of people, and then Chow immediately follow up with a Abu Dan or something like that, right? Or like a no shit Sherlock kind of situation. But hear me out, because I feel that like a lot of the angry reactions towards this article or towards the initial reactions of the article feels that it's like a very black and white, cut and dry kind of thing. But it's not necessarily so, because I think the proponents for this narrative and the opponents of this narrative are fighting for different things around the same topic, which is like not the most helpful in helping each other understand.
Yeah, which I agree with.
Yeah.
Chow, how do you think about the article?
I mean, I
General
also
statements.
agreed with what John shared. That
Abu Dan, and just
Oh,
kidding.
you don't know. That was basically what I said to him just now. But I do agree with what John shared about how they are standing for different things and therefore are not truly listening to what the other side has to say.
Yes.
or they do not want to even try and understand what the other side has to say. I think when I was reading this article, right, I felt like I could resonate with some of her points actually.
Yeah.
Really quite strongly. And I get where her concern and her confusion stems from.
Yes.
But when I went to read on to the reactions, I also could understand why they were angry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what I was trying to do was to delve a little bit deeper into why these people feel the way that they do. Because I think that is a point that was very much missed out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think for me, the Rise Media, I read a Rise Media article which I also link in the comment,
Oh, yes.
the links in the
That
in the
article went
description.
rather viral.
I thought it was a bit passive aggressive.
Was it?
Well, that
Okay,
they
the
were
writing
like
style lah.
fixing or they were analyzing. Well, I wouldn't say analyzing is passive aggressive, but I think the way that they analyzed it, like they framed themselves as
The gatekeeper.
yeah,
Okay.
to what is like good journalism and what isn't. But I think it was a great piece anyway to even give me that perspective to understand her writing from a different point of view.
I think the conclusion summed it up very well for me in the article lah. I didn't agree with some of the points they raised in the article, but the conclusion I agreed with, which was she raised very valid points, but like very poorly packaged.
Right.
And it also goes, I think this article for me makes me reflect more about the role of media in our society more than
Understand,
the
yeah.
actual conversation. But that's something that we
Interesting.
discuss later on.
Yeah.
So we go back to John's like initial discussion about like them
Yeah.
fighting on a different like level
Yeah.
or different topic.
Correct.
I completely agree. I actually used this analogy with Kezia. I said like it sounds like a dad getting scolded by a mom for not helping with housework. Then the dad scolding back the mom for taking too long to do her makeup while going out. Then they're all fighting. And
Yeah.
It's one big argument, but they're both fighting about different things.
Yeah.
They just argue each other.
Yeah.
But they don't like address the concerns each other
Yeah.
brought
So
up.
at the end of the day, they are still late for their appointment and the house is not clean.
Yeah, exactly. So that's how it feels for me lah. I do think that it was very poorly packaged though. I do think that the article was pretty badly written.
Well-
but that's just me.
I feel like the article was written with a very strong intent to incite, to elicit an emotional response based on the choice of words, the way she framed it, how the titling was, and
Yes,
even
yes.
I think her start, right, her hook was already lower your pitchforks and hear me out. I
Yeah.
think it was
Yeah.
very clear where she was coming from and how she visualizes this entire group of people, the community who she considers the woke folk,
Yeah, yeah.
basically. And I think that was her point. So
Yeah.
if that was the objective, was the article actually poorly written, you know?
I think that shouldn't have been the objective. That's
Yeah.
my point.
Well, I have an opposing view.
Okay.
I think that she may, because we don't know her personally, and I think
Yeah.
this is the
Yeah.
key point here when it comes to a lot of this discourse on the internet. What if, right? Here's a thought, right? My perspective is that what if she is someone who is jaded by the whole prospect of cancel culture,
Yeah.
hence approached it with unintentional emotion in her writing because she is eloquent in that form.
Understand.
So it's like when you're passive aggressive to your friend in verbal form, that's one way you deliver it. But she's a writer, she's a communications student, right?
Yes.
So maybe when she delivered this, a tinge of how she personally felt, where she felt that she was a little bit trapped sometimes being on the internet because of cancel culture, she delivered it in a way that potentially offended people.
Yes.
So this is a byproduct of her being a person. What if it just so happens it actually is reflective of how jaded she is by popular narrative that is not representative of everyone?
I actually really like that point because then it makes us have the need to actually question what's going on in her head, what's going on with her mind. And the thing is, right, these are things that if you cared enough about what she's sharing and you care enough about this topic or the buzz that she has created, right, then why not just reach out to her and ask?
Exactly.
I think she can be accessible.
Yeah.
It's the internet.
Correct. And I think like it has the markings of someone, right, who has tried and met too much resistance.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I think that was one of the criticisms. I think a lot of people were, I don't want to say assuming, like they were inferring that she didn't even try. Because I remember there was one line that when I read it, my first thought was, oh no, shouldn't have said that. And maybe I don't even want to know.
Okay.
And I remember when I saw that, I was like, wow, that completely trashed the entire argument
know-
from the start.
I can see how that would incite that kind of feeling from people, because it feels like the first thing you want to do is to close off your mind against any potential discussion.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But like, I don't want to just play the devil's advocate here, but I think it's very common that when someone has been facing resistance for the same kind of thing, to not want to be like, I don't want to hear it, you know? It's a very typical thing that we hear in everyday conversation, especially when we talk to people of a more senior age or more senior rank. They'll be like, I don't want to hear it.
Yes.
Purely because they already have this thing in their head that has been trained into them.
They think they don't respond
by other bad experiences. It could be that. No one knows, right?
Yes.
I'm not trying to defend her for her ideals or whatever. I'm just saying that right now, right, if we truly want to understand what's going on the internet, right, we need to think from all perspectives, because this is like, everyone is targeting this written form. Everyone knows these two pictures that appears in the article. No one actually know who she is.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I didn't even know she was a comm student until
No
Chow
one
told me
actually know
today.
who she is, and I think that's the biggest flaw here. You see, before we have an opportunity to try to find out who are these proponents and opponents, we attack each other first. Yeah,
I do think that this goes back to like the whole the analogy I'm gonna like give is like the whole primary school. Then there's two people who are fighting. Then they always say that the other person started it first.
yeah,
And like the teacher can never freaking know who started it first.
yeah.
So for her, I think from her perspective, it's probably like, okay, she has very bad experiences in the past
That
from
could
like
be
the
one
woke crowd.
possibility.
Yeah. And then because of that, she's retaliating, and this is her retaliation. But for everyone else, it feels like she's coming out of the woodworks out of nowhere.
Correct.
Like punching.
That could be one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but that's also an area where she was criticized for in her writing, because the thing is, I think I saw a point where someone said that she made this she created a whole visualization of the example she gave was the discussion about transgender issues, right?
Yeah.
So she gave this as an example, and she said that hypothetically, in this situation where someone raised a point about transgender issues, she would not be able to voice out her own opinions because they would immediately shut her down.
Yeah.
But she did not back up this point with any personal
Real-life
experience or real life examples. And that's where there is this space for people to infer that she's just pulling this out of her ass. lah.
But like, I want to talk about this whole retaliatory aspect of things, that I think sometimes people forget that the first instance you encounter may be a retaliation to something that you've never seen. So like, for example, when she talked about the transphobia, when she was being a little bit transphobic with her language lah.
Yep.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel that like we have to try to understand whether this is a retaliation from bad experience. I give you an example because on the flip side of the argument, when I was on TikTok, right, I saw this video where someone, because throughout, I feel that based on all the reactions, some context first, based on some of the reactions, based on the Rise Media article, everyone was very encouraging about wanting to be curious and learning and finding more out about a community that most people are ignorant of.
Yes.
Right? People are highly generally accepting of that kind of approach, wanting to find out more. But on TikTok, I chanced upon this video, and I'm just saying this one video. I'm not saying it represents the entire trans community or whatever. So someone asked on TikTok, like, when you are out in the city, right, which washroom do you
Oh,
go
I think
to?
I saw that video. Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
I
Which
didn't
washroom
see.
do you go
Yep.
to? Right?
Yeah.
So this transgender person was started out say it's like, I don't mean to be disrespectful. The comments is like, I don't mean to be disrespectful. I don't want you to be offended. I'm just curious. What toilet do you go to? Right?
Yeah.
So this transgender person, right?
Yep.
This video got quite viral because it ended on the For You page. Huh? So
Yeah.
so she went on, they went on to explain, I'm sorry if I got the pronouns wrong, they went on to explain about their daily life leading up to everything, and then they ended off with, and then I asked your dad to open his mouth, and I pissed into his mouth because it's not your business.
Yeah.
So
I saw that video.
okay, this is where at this point when the video ends, okay, is where a very key decision has to be made. A very simple emotional retaliation is the common choice of action that people do.
Okay.
Do that. When another way is that if you step back and realize that maybe too many times they have gotten these kind of questions with a loaded intention.
Yeah, I think the reason why they retaliated is also because they keep hearing this with
Loaded intentions,
and
right?
yeah, it's meant as an argument against their
Correct.
their identity.
Exactly.
And when they hear it, even if it's like out of respect, even if it's out of like just genuine
Yeah.
curiosity and wanting to know more, they immediately go to the point of like, oh, he's trying to
Correct.
destroy me.
And this is my exact point for Dana.
Okay.
Because what if, right, all this while she has been approaching,
Yeah.
but what she get instead from the woke folk has been this kind of reaction. We don't know this.
Okay.
And that's why I think right now what the best thing that we can all try to do is that whenever someone approaches us or whatever, would be to always react kindly first.
Yeah.
And
Of
try
course.
to diffuse misunderstandings. Because if not, right, you create a situation whereby, like you mentioned, the father mother fight around the topic and nothing gets achieved. Right? Can you imagine if this transgender TikTok person is in a direct discussion with the author of this article? It will go nowhere if both of them are being retaliatory to their own past bad experiences.
Yes.
And this is where I feel the general public on the internet has a large role to play in this.
Yes.
Because when we were having a discussion on this on the bus on the way here, when you're part of a larger community with support directed at either side of the camp, right, it's very easy to lose yourself into the argument and view the opposing side as enemy.
Yeah.
And when that happens, right, it becomes not just two initial people having a discussion. It becomes two semi-ignorant crowds seeing the other side as the enemy without truly understanding what's going on. And that's what happens on the internet. And that's why there is this very large tendency for people to refer it to it as a mob.
Yes.
And
yes.
to be frank, let's be honest here. The mob exists on both sides of any argument.
Either way, I don't think any side is absolved from responsibility
Exactly.
/ blame in a situation like this lah.
And the fact that there are both sides and the both sides have a mob, I would say a large majority of this mob are the semi-ignorant to the situation people who are angered and retaliating.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm like a little bit more hesitant to put the blame on like not say blame, but like I guess put a more responsibility on like the trans community to be kind and accepting and all that is simply because like that they have gone through a lot of nonsense, more than we can ever imagine,
Yeah,
more
I
than
agree.
we can ever fathom.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether I hesitate to say that it's up to them to be kind. Because they have gone through some nonsense, and like if I were them, I'll be like, screw you guys also what.
Yeah.
And
No, but okay.
I'm just very I think that I think the onus is on people like us, and I've always been saying this, like the onus on people like us who have not been hurt, who can think of this non-emotionally, or rather we have been hurt but not in this way lah, but not think of this non-emotionally and like just be very I guess more logical in this this argument to like talk about it like this.
Yeah.
But the thing is that not everyone on the internet is like us. We no stakes in this argument. In fact, most of the people who are dissenting voices had stakes. They are from the LGBTQ community. They are the people who the article was directly referring to. And when they see something like this, they can. I'm sure all they can think of is like, man, I've been
gotta
fighting.
defend yourself.
I've been fighting for so long. Pink Dot has been in Singapore for like what, 5 to 10 years already.
Yeah.
I mean, it
and
really
still got this shit.
it is a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And I cannot criticize someone for having that sort of emotive response because that is really human nature.
Yeah, it is.
Definitely.
It really is. But then on the other hand, right, when you say the onus is on us, right, people who are not a part of these minority groups, people with the privilege of not even experiencing the same ordeals that they may have, right? That the onus is on us to be sensitive about it. I feel like regardless of the intention to be sensitive, right, you may still end up saying things that would trigger somebody because like I said just now, you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
So maybe, for example, the guy that asked on TikTok which toilet you use, right? He has no idea that this person had to endure maybe some sort of a backlash before or had felt attacked by that question before.
Yes.
So there's no way for him to anticipate that the reaction would be anger or that he would come off as offensive. And that's tricky, right? Because
it is very tricky.
then you see, that kind of brings us back to one of Dana's point, that it is difficult to voice out anything at all and it's difficult to raise questions. I felt like I understood what she meant by that, because sometimes I feel that it's difficult to voice out my thoughts about my opinions about topics, because you don't know who you're going to offend with the things that you say.
Exactly.
Is it because of an actually bad experience, or is it because like it's ghosts, like you're seeing ghosts, like it's not actually there?
It's hard to say. And I think like just because it is not necessarily actually there or a personal encounter, right, does not discount the kind of for the lack of a better word, the fear of backlash. Does not discount the fear of backlash. They still feel, even if they're afraid of something that is unwarranted, right, they are still afraid, right, of airing their certain opinion. And I think that is the main key opinion, the key point of what the article is trying to say. You know, even though there were a lot of undertones of like how you mentioned, when they called out a particularly marginalized community some more, right? There are definitely better ways to do that. But I think what she was trying to say here is that very unseen fear by people who are ignorant and are aware that they're ignorant.
Yeah.
And I think this is the crux of the initial argument. Right?
Okay.
There are many ignorant people on the internet. I myself am very ignorant on a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Right? I don't claim to be the most woke or the most aware or the most learned or the most understanding.
Yeah.
Like, we can try our best to try to understand one community. We may leave out another. Like, we never, like, for example, we discuss a lot about these kind of situations on the internet. What about people suffering in Myanmar, for example? We leave those out because we don't know. Right? And I think, as much as that is a result of limited knowledge, it is also fine that it's like that. But at the same time, right, I feel that like people shouldn't be vilified for trying to express that point.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people should definitely try to internalize the fact that she was writing about this invisible fear that people who are ignorant but aware of it have. You know?
I agree.
And the thing about it is that like a lot of these comments, or like a lot of these opponents who focus on the wrong parts of the argument, end up feeding into that fear that make the semi-ignorant that had no initial understanding of this article even more riled up. And that's where the two people start to fight against invisible ghosts on each side.
Yeah. I mean, the reason why I asked whether like we think it's invisible ghosts or not is because, I mean, doing this podcast, I had to talk a lot about like things that I previously don't know a lot about. Like one of them was like transfer. I'm actually still trying to find like a guest for the transphobia episode that I want to do.
Shout out to our trans community, LGBT plus community who might be watching, right? If you have a trans friend who is willing to come over and help us understand the topic a little bit better and maybe chaperone the conversation a little bit, please, by all means, we all cool people and there is soju.
Yeah, but I was talking to a friend and I was asking questions like, okay, so what's hormone therapy? What's going on? What's this? And like they were like super cool.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a great experience. Like I actually asked questions. I also asked other, like, let's say like my female friends, I'm like, okay, do you guys really feel very unsafe around men? Or like I ask questions like, what's mansplaining? Because a lot of people say what's mansplaining, and what is it? And they all be very cool. They all like, oh, they explain very nicely to me.
Yep.
So like to me, when I see her argument, because it's not backed up by examples as well, I'm just thinking like, is she like just seeing ghosts? And I think that whole thing came from a misunderstanding, and then it does breed even more misunderstanding.
Yeah. And I think this implication of like I think some people are like yourself, I wouldn't doubt your intentions otherwise. You are genuinely curious about whether there's a real lived experience or whether people are seeing ghosts.
Yeah.
But sometimes people's approach is not so genuine. They may ask you whether it's a lived experience or whether you're seeing ghosts, and then you say that like, I'm not sure. They use that and they're like, see?
Or maybe it's not there.
It's not there. Who asked you? Why you like that? So I think that's where people go into a defensive stance when that has happened enough times. And I would say, because we are quite privileged to be part of the cisgender straight majority race privileged gang.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, yeah.
We don't understand that may be the reason why they are so retaliatory. And that is also fine. But where it becomes problematic, right, is that when this becomes the fuel to fight the invisible wrongdoing that this person clearly didn't intend to or didn't do. You get what I mean, right? As much as this article had a lot of very ignorant points, very potentially transphobic points, right?
Yes.
It is also very apparent that she was very ignorant about what these things may result in.
Yeah.
Because who in their right mind will put something out there like that? Not many people. Not many people, I would say. Right? Who in their right mind will put something like that out there while trying to address the woke cancel culture point? Not many people, right? Why would they do that? Right?
Yeah.
It is either an ignorant mistake or a genuine push
Yeah.
for harm.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is that when you're angry at a situation, your head automatically aims that you are genuinely out for harm, because all this while, whenever I encounter this, is for harm.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, right, the people who were still uncertain and read the article, seeing this reaction, they were like, yes, this side also out for blood. They also out for harm. And then it results in polarization. And nothing is solved. At the end of the day, this article will live on and the conflict will never be resolved because, firstly, humans are forgetful. After a while, they will continue to move on in our own lives, except a few people will never be able to understand each other anymore. And that's where it gets really detrimental. And this, I think, is the biggest problem with not just woke culture, but with conservative people as well.
Okay, like they're not willing to hear or
They
listen.
are not willing to hear, and they assume that the other side is out for blood because they see these kind of examples.
Yeah.
The woke people, further reinforced by these conservative people who come out and defend the article, while both are missing the point.
Yeah.
And this just makes two people hate each other even more.
For some reason, I don't blame people for missing the point of the article though,
I don't blame people.
because like even I'm gonna be honest. Like I had to read the article a few times and really reflect on it in a very calm way before I could see. Okay, here's what she's actually saying.
Yeah.
Because her points were so I would say buried underneath a lot of weird lines and weird expressions of
Yeah.
what she wants to say, to the point where I can't see what she's trying
Yeah,
to say.
exactly.
And I think it's very poorly packaged. That's what I think. And like I mean, people who have been on IMO for a long time have always heard that. Like I always say, if you want to fight for a cause, you have to fight for it. Sell it like a market pitch. You have to make people like you. You have to make people like your cause, and make people understand why you're fighting for it.
Yeah.
It is a market pitch.
It is.
So you can't go around being angry, expecting people to listen to you.
Yeah.
And I had to have used that same logic on her. You can't go around being angry like this, expecting people to listen to you,
Exactly.
especially the woke crowd.
Yep.
Yes.
Like you have, if you're, because you're obviously writing this article directed to the woke crowd, right?
Yeah.
You're expecting them to read it. You have to package it in a way that
Yeah.
they understand and they are able to
Correct.
listen to it properly.
And this is where I mentioned that there is a very clear tinge of ignorance. Because she does not understand that some of these examples that she brought up, people exist in these communities where we have been pushed to the point whereby every action is a defensive one.
Yeah.
So when you package your article in this way, immediately there's a defensive reaction. So you can't blame them,
Yeah, you can't.
right? But at the same time, is it unnecessary and unfortunate?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It is.
Right? Absolutely. Because suddenly the privileged people who initially wanted to understand now clam up because, oh my God, it is true. Then how?
This reminds me of AOT.
Yeah.
Attack on Titan. But anyways, we have to take a little quick camera break. We'll go back to the question. See you guys.
See you in a
BRB.
bit.
Actually,
And we're back. Chow got something to say.
no, because you were going on about like the intention of the author and what her objective was, and also whether she was actually going to be putting this out because she was trying to stir anger, right? Or whether she was just genuinely curious.
Yeah.
And I think we need to take a few steps back to what this article was for. It was an assignment in school.
Yeah.
And if you think about it that way, right, I think she just wanted to do an assignment lah, and she was like expressing her true opinions and thoughts in the best way possible for her to score her grade, man. And her professor was actually the one that pushed for the article to be up on Today, which is where everybody got to see it lah. And the professor genuinely did think that it was a well-written article. I think also because the professor does not understand the social media space that well.
Yeah.
Perhaps she does not, and she did not. Maybe she could not have anticipated such a backlash because perhaps she's not super familiar with social media and she has not seen how angry the social media crowd could be.
Yes.
I think that's basically the whole thing about her intention of this article and putting the article out. And people might dilute this completely and get distracted by their own emotions and their own retaliations towards the points that she's making, even though she might not have like the intention to hurt or harm.
Yes. I think that the prof actually wrote a Facebook post. I will link it if it's still up. But she wrote a Facebook post. I read it. She said that they did anticipate backlash, just probably not this bad. She has she didn't think it would be this bad.
Well, I think that comes along with anytime you air an unpopular opinion.
Yeah.
Right, and like if there's one thing that is factual for the internet is that I feel that on social media is generally very unforgiving towards unpopular opinions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they are on sensitive topics or not.
Yeah. I think the main thing I got out of this is I keep asking myself how did this pass QC? How did this pass any form of editor? And I'm very curious, so I've been asking like writers, would you have passed this? As an editor, would you have passed this? And most of them said no. And like
as in these writers exist in the social media sphere.
I think because they know, I guess.
How people will react.
Yeah. And maybe it's also because like they are probably a bit more less confrontational as people, I guess. But all I could think of was, I don't even think it's a good, well-written school assignment. It's such... I mean...
But she had to beat like 24 other students or something, you know.
But
it
I
was
don't
like
know, man. I'm like, GP essay asks you to write like, counterpoints, balance arguments, write in like PEL format. She didn't even have a PEL format. I'm just like, this like violates every single writing standard of...
But then again, we also don't know what the
critique, the rubrics are. Right?
Yeah, we have no idea what it was.
No, but like I like what you mentioned about when you ask your editor friends and whether they will publish such an article. I think that is a very clear sign that there's a win for the marginalized community because people are more sensitive to these kind of things, so they watch themselves, albeit sometimes without fully understanding. But that's fine. That's still a step in the positive direction.
Yes,
and that's fine. And the thing is, right now, right, when we encounter these kind of unpopular things still being published, right, how should we then approach this as a community on the internet? Because I hate to say this, but like as much as there are a lot angry people on either side wanting you to pick a side, there are no damn sides. We are all on the same side. We are all fucking strangers on the internet.
Yeah.
And like we all ought to act together as one collective stranger on the fucking internet in order for the internet to progress.
Yes.
So how should we then approach these kind of things in future when they are clearly inflammatory things? I think in this respect, both sides have to kind of come together to bridge a gap.
Yes.
For those that can see the holes in the argument on both sides, we have to come together, try to bridge the gap so that people can cross over.
Yes.
Because once they cross over, then more and more people will start to understand that, hey, you are arguing over things that don't exist.
Yes.
And even if they do exist, we shouldn't be arguing about these things around this article. It should be around the other topics that actually exist.
But here's the crazy thing, like if you wrote an article, here's the thing. I don't think this podcast is going to go very viral, simply because you don't have an extreme view. In media, right? Extremism is sexy.
Yeah,
it's sexy to be extreme. Nuance doesn't belong on media.
It's true, and this is something that I wanted to mention also because like you can really think about it. If let's say we hit all the bases and the article is acceptable on all grounds, right? It suddenly doesn't become a interesting article.
It's not viral anymore. Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing that some people in media struggle with.
Yeah,
you know,
I
they're
agree.
like, oh my god, do I make something that everyone looks at, but I gamble?
Yes.
I roll the dice, you know, or do I just write something that everyone likes, but probably not everyone actually enjoys?
Nobody wants to share. It's not shareable.
Yeah, exactly. And that's also kind of unfortunate because it's also as a product of this whole very combative nature of people on either sides of the argument.
Yeah.
Right. By virtue of there being combat, people who share divisive views gain the support of one side, gain the ire of the other side, and as far as the internet algorithm is concerned, these 2 clicks are worth the same.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it's
why-
engagement. They don't see
exactly.
it's bad engagement or good engagement.
Exactly. And that's why this is not what we should be pushing the internet to become.
Yeah.
We should instead be encouraging people to try to bridge gaps and let the ones that bridge the gap gain the clicks. But right now, that's not the case.
I think that this is why like for IMO, for HTHT, I've always told myself it's like a personal moral code to never put like sensationalistic titles or titles that might definitely attract attention but will also put attention to the wrong things in a video. So I could have very easily, because in the HTHT banking, I always say this example, HTHT banking, we asked him about Dkosh. And at the time, the Dkosh incident was blowing up like no one's business. In fact, the Dkosh episode we did blew up. So I could have very easily wrote HTHT banking discussed Dkosh, but I didn't because
that's just
it's just scummy
disingenuous.
as hell. Yeah.
That's disingenuous.
So it goes, but here's the thing: HTHT banking didn't do well. Didn't do as well as I thought it was gonna do. So I don't know, man. As much as I say, okay, today online, I really don't know why the hell. Okay, honestly speaking, I don't know who the hell the editor is. But wow, you essentially didn't. I didn't think you did a great job of this. I think there was so much
Wasn't
that
it
could
a
have been.
prof?
Was it a prof?
I
Don't they have to edit though?
I guess so. Someone on Today.
Yeah, they probably have to
Yeah.
edit. What?
I don't know. Someone in the comments that knows what's up, tell us.
Yeah, I
Let's not make too many assumptions here.
actually messaged the prof.
Oh,
I was like, hey, you want to come on IMO? And she didn't reply me, of course, because
Did
she's...
she double tick?
I don't know whether it delivered in the first place, but I sent her a Facebook message and she didn't say much. So if you're watching this for some reason, we would love to have you on.
yeah.
But I just didn't think it was a very well written article. Maybe not well written is a bad way to say it. I don't think it's a well packaged argument,
Okay.
and I think it could have been done so much better.
Yeah.
And the thing is that most people can see her points. So a lot of the people that I've been talking to, like friends, right, they've all been saying they are very scared to come out and say that they kind of agree with what she said. Like they are scared. And I think most people are. The only reason why me and John are, or like maybe even Chow are not scared because we have been on this space for a while already. That boat has sailed for us already. Like the whole like sharing our opinions online we have done it already. But a lot of people, they have never shared it before and they are really, really scared. That's the thing. They are scared. And then this goes and scares them even further.
You know, it's funny because then that reinforces some of the points that she made on the article.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the irony, you see. Like, why should people be scared on the internet?
Yeah.
No one should be. No one deserves to be frightened, right? And like we talk about trying to defend for minority rights and defend for marginalized communities. They are also scared, right?
Yeah.
But
everyone's
but
scared.
like how when we did a sustainability shoot recently. You also were there when we talked when one of the panelists mentioned very aptly that like we shouldn't have to give up one pillar of sustainability for another.
Yeah.
In this case, we shouldn't have to give up the welfare and well-being of one group
For another.
it shouldn't be a trait like that.
Okay. Yeah.
It shouldn't have been done that way.
It shouldn't have been a
I
trait.
mean, I get
in
it.
that sense.
I get that.
We
but-
shouldn't have made either side more scared.
Yeah.
You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think an article like this, as much as there's a lot of understanding to be had from either side, right?
Yeah.
The knee-jerk reaction from both sides also has been very unhealthy to people who are already scared.
Yeah. And the thing is that those people who are scared, I think most people can come to a consensus that they wouldn't have said it the way she did.
Yeah,
So
for
everyone
sure.
was like, okay, I get what she's trying to say, and I kind of agree. But at the same time, like, wow, she said it in a terrible way. And that's most of people's
Yeah.
opinions.
What if she packaged it that way just so that she could get more light on it?
Yeah, then that's
Then we're back to the argument about like
How it
media
should-
works, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I personally don't think that's the way to go.
Yeah lah. I mean, I agree with you for sure, which is why I think Overthink is a great channel, by the way, imo.pod Instagram. And I think that this is one of the rare spaces on the internet where you are not driven by the numbers and engagements, and therefore you feel like you can deliver information more honestly
Yeah.
and in a more balanced manner.
We try to lah. We try to lah.
we try our best to lah, but of course at the same time we are not all knowing. You know, Chow and I, we were just talking about this principle in economics that there's no such thing as perfect knowledge, right? If not, demand and supply wouldn't exist. If not, a lot of trading principles
That's
will
true.
not exist.
Yeah.
But by the fact that perfect knowledge does not exist, right? We should also then try to aim to be kinder to each other. Because what if your opponent, I call everyone who is of a differing view from you your opponent, right? What if
Okay.
your opponent doesn't even know what they don't know?
And most people don't.
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
honest. And I mean, here's the thing, like it might look, and the things that like, because the media and how like, I guess, polarizing it can be, and the fact that it sheds light on these kind of extreme views and extreme things that happen, it might look like the world is extremely scary, but actually there are a lot of like people who have been like chaperoning these ideas and these topics really, really well. So one of them was
Right.
actually this TikToker that I think John sent me before, Desi. I think it's Desi. I think his name
I
is Desi.
can't remember. We'll try to link the
Yeah,
link
we'll
for
link
you.
the TikToker in the links below. But I think he is. I'm not. I think he's transgender. I'm not very sure. Don't quote me on this.
Yeah,
But he's from the
can't-
LGBT community.
Yeah.
And basically, he was answering questions that were typically very taboo of the
Yeah.
community, and he was answering it in a super nice way.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh yeah, sure, no worries. Here's what I do. Here's what
Right.
I do. Hope it helps."
So he was actually trying to educate
Yeah,
without the whole emotions and knee-jerk reactions to
Yeah.
what people were asking.
exactly. And everyone, you see his comment section is so wholesome. Everyone was like, "I'm honestly kind of against the LGBT community, but you made me change my mind."
Yeah. No, and this is the thing, you see, in a very strange twist of fate, okay? Let me just put it out there.
Yeah,
I feel that right now, the marginalized communities, the LGBT people who experience racial discrimination, and all the marginalized people,
yeah,
in a very strange twist of fate, as a result, as a emergent property of the internet,
yeah.
they now have something to offer. Then back in the day, just because of who you are, you had something to lose.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
And because now, by virtue of the fact that you have something to offer and you have an audience that is curious, right? I feel that you owe it to your community to try to reach more people, as many people as possible.
if you are emotionally able to, like,
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
I think that's the important
Absolutely.
Yeah,
thing.
it's
Like,
just-
solve your trauma. You want to be if you're like, let's say you're still handling trauma and
Yeah.
everything, you shouldn't be expected to take shit from people.
Absolutely. No, but at the same time, I just want to reach out to people who in the community, who in the LGBT community, people who are marginalized and that kind of thing. I just want to let you know that right now, with the internet that is the way it is, right, you do have something to offer. And
Yes.
in fact, there are a lot of people who want to hear your voice. And that is a good sign of the internet becoming a better place.
It's not perfect.
Yeah, it's becoming better
It's
for
becoming
sure. And this is my call to y'all to try to be the shepherd, be the one that chaperones these ignorant people who want to know more, because you don't know how many there are out there. You know, I'm willing to bet now that the world has shifted enough that out of 10 bad people, out of 10, it used to be maybe out of 100 bad people, you meet one good person. You maybe now have the odds of maybe 25 bad people, you meet one good person. And I think that is a good step in the right direction. It's a step in the right direction. And we must not lose this opportunity to talk to these people and try to help them understand. That being said, it is not also all on your shoulders.
It's not. Definitely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
People like us also have to try to bridge that gap. But a bridge that is but a gap that wide cannot be bridged just from one side.
Yeah.
We
I
have
agree.
to build the bridge towards the middle.
Yeah, and I think even the side of like, what's her name? Dana?
Dana.
Dana. Okay, sorry. Dana. I think her side also. I think the same applies to her side. Like, you have to be able to chaperone the topic properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I agree with that.
Yeah, you can't expect them to chaperone it properly and you yourself don't chaperone it properly.
Exactly.
You have to show how you want it to be chaperoned, and then hopefully, and honestly speaking, on IMO, I've said a lot of stupid things, and a lot of people have disagreed with me, and I have actually tried to, like, I guess, bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And most of the time, I tell you, most people are very, very nice one if you're nice to them. And,
Yeah.
And that's what I've come across. Like, every time, like, you go look at the Dkosh episode, right? Okay, all my comments were deleted because I changed the channel name.
Oof.
But I actually typed essays, long answers back to everyone who disagree with me. And it's always, I'm sorry, and here's what I meant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I will do better.
Yeah.
And there are people who DM me after the episode also and said like, okay, I think you kind of missed the point. This is what we're trying to say. And I'm like, oh, okay. I'm sorry, I missed the point. Thank you for informing me. And honestly, most of the people who did that were super cool after that. Some of them still follow me until now, even though they were like, they hated me initially. And it's because, like, I think at least I guess from their point of view, they saw that I tried.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you try to do it properly, if you try to be healthy about it, I guarantee you there will be someone that is willing to bridge that gap with you. And you're not doing yourself any favors by burning it right out of the get-go with this article. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
I mean, moving forward, I guess the best way to go about discussing any type of opinion and any type of emotions you may have, right, is to be as objective and rational as you possibly can
Yeah, for
be
sure.
lah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is really
As you possibly can,
Yeah, as you possibly can be.
Well, I got a hot tip for everyone on the internet. If ever you are venturing into unknown waters and you're fearful or you're opinionated or you're feeling emotions or you're whatever, you can always use our tagline, and that is to go into the conversation ready to have your minds changed. And if you do that, then the world will be a better place. Because if you go into the conversation ready to have your minds changed, no conversation, no reply will be too much for you.
Yes.
True.
You apologize properly when you do something wrong. It won't be, when people tell you to do something wrong, you won't be taken with you won't be taken personally.
Yeah.
You'll be a lot more open to it and everything lah.
I mean, this actually goes back to how people react and how people respond to things around them. And I feel like this is a behavior that needs time to be trained because it is your instinct to be emotional. And it takes additional thought and conscious effort to change that.
Yes.
Yeah. So be patient with people as well.
Yeah, for
Give
sure.
them time to be able to develop a better way to respond.
Yes, I agree.
Yep, and like I mentioned, I feel that like a good take on unnecessary optimism, but I give you some unnecessary optimism. Is I feel that every single time you encounter one nasty reply, right?
Yeah.
Take it as you've hit your quota of nasty replies and try again with someone else.
Yeah. I would like to think the world is getting a little bit better. Especially like, I mean, with all the great activists that are out there that are championing a lot of causes that are very important. It's, as I said before in the existential crisis episode, we are at like a solid D+. D going to a D+ now. It's still shitty, we are at a D. But the fact that we're going to a D+ is something to say for lah. So, I mean, it's a growing pain. It's things like this you have to figure it out. But if I would like to think eventually we will figure it out lah. And it starts with people just like learning how to shut up if they are too emotional, and it starts with people learning how to say things nicely and be healthy about things. And if we do that, I think
I
the
think to
world will be
listen more than we say.
Yeah.
That one's important.
That's why I've been listening so much this whole episode, right?
It's not because you're tired.
No. But actually, one point that I shared about in my HTHT video also is that I always believe that we may not have the power or control to control what somebody says. We cannot control what somebody says, but we can control how we respond. So this is something that I like to remember all the time. And it helps me with the way that I respond to things around me. That's why I always tell people that I'm super open-minded and I'm always ready to hear a differing perspective and opinion.
Yes.
Which is, I love it when people approach me with the same mindset.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel a lot more able to share.
Yeah.
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 You aren't afraid to be open with these kind of people.
Yeah, even the whole like sustainability dialogue that I did with John and Chow.
Yeah, please check out that video.
Is it out already?
Are you going to put the link?
I will if it's out.
By the time this video is out, it will be out.
I'm
It'll be
looking
out.
to...
Okay, then I'll put it in the link.
Yeah, for
But,
sure. You get to see Lester again.
Lester.
In that video, I was essentially the only non-environmentally friendly person in the whole group of 4.
Yeah. He still don't use metal straw. Cancel it.
Hey, I'm trying, okay, but I remember when I was saying my points, right? Everyone was so nice.
Yeah.
Everyone was like nodding their heads, and I was like, yeah, I agree. And I'm like, whoa, they agree.
I feel that more people need to experience this sense of surprise. Like, oh, people are actually nice.
Yeah, and I thought that honestly when I went in, I thought that it was going to be a bloodshed like argument, and I'm going to get absolutely destroyed and pummeled. But I didn't. And everyone was like, yeah, I agree. This is why it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And I think this topic is very complicated and everything. And I was like, wow, this is cool. And that, I won't say gave me the confidence to say more things, but like it did give me the confidence to know that at least they are hearing. And
For sure.
I know that I might be wrong, but as long as I know that they are hearing, and if they tell me, it makes it when they do disagree with me.
Yep.
Yeah.
carries more weight lah.
Correct.
As compared to if they just disagree with me throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
actually bothered
To
to.
listen and think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I felt very welcome, even though they disagree with pretty much everything. But I felt very welcome. Lah.
Yeah.
And I think society is slowly going towards that.
I hope
And
so.
Yeah, I think eventually we will. Lah. Any closing thoughts, John?
I think the first thing is that I would say a final piece of advice to everyone would be not to get strung in or give in to the angry people, because for people who have lost their cool on sensitive topics, do not be strung in with that, because you will end up closing your opinions off to the opposing view, and that is not helpful to any conversation.
Yeah.
How about you, Chow?
I think one of the greatest takeaways from whatever we've observed between the conversation between the two sides, right, is really about how people react and how people approach discussions in general. And I think that if you want to have a discussion, right, you need to bring the correct mindset that you are ready to listen to the other opinion. And that's something that hopefully more people will be able to adopt over time.
Yeah. As I always say, every time you want to give a cause or like fight for a cause, there's a way to do it. Sell it like a market pitch. And I think if everyone does that, people will be more willing to change their minds. Going in angry as this author did or as anyone else does, going in angry doesn't make for a very convincing argument. And I don't know about you, but when my parents scold me, I automatically think they're wrong, even if they're right. So they scold me, please do your homework. Like, they don't say please. They'll say, do your homework, boy. Why you always play game? Then my immediate thoughts, I know you always play game. What?
Correct.
It's not
okay,
that
I
need
should
to
do my homework.
Yeah. But if they say like, hey, I'm very worried for you, got exam, you need to do your homework.
Higher chance.
I'm not saying I'll be fantastic because I still hate doing homework, but higher chance of me actually like, oh shit, I do need to get my shit together,
Alright.
and I'll do it. And I mean, this is basic psychology. If you compromise with people, they'll like you. And the whole point of changing people's minds is getting them to like you. So I think hopefully honestly speaking, if there's anything we got wrong, because obviously we are a very privileged people, do let us know.
Yeah,
if you want to
boy.
come on the show to share your opinion about this, we will love it.
Lagi more, let us know.
Yeah,
Yep.
let us know. DM us on imo.pod.
IMO.pod.
Oh my god. Wait, imo.pod. Did I say imo.pod?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I'm going crazy. I'm saying ghosts. Okay, but if Dana or Berta, if you're watching this, hi. Don't know why you're watching this, but I would love to have you on the show.
And if you made it this far, please come. Just come lah.
Just come. You already made this far already.
Yeah. You're
Yeah.
invested. Just come.
We'll love you to have on the we'll love to have you on the show and have a good conversation.
Yeah.
I think it'll be nice to hear from their perspective.
All right. Right.
But yes, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching.
Yeah. Thank you
today's
so much for
episode.
joining us.
And it's been very tiring. Yesterday we filmed HTHT Denise.
Yeah.
The video's out already. Please go and watch it.
But
been
before
tiring
we
week,
probably sign off, thank you Chow for joining us today. If
Thank
you would
you,
like to see
guys.
us bring on more other guests like Chow, please let us know in the comments who you would like to see.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
You enjoy
It'd be
yourself?
great.
Of course. I mean, I just like hanging out with you guys, and this is something that you do when you hang out. So
Nice.
I don't really like hanging out with her, but it's okay.
It's him. He's the problem. I found out what's the problem with the internet. It's him.
yeah.
Thank
Cancel
you, Chow.
Alester.
Yeah, cancel him. Remove him.
Yeah, man. Thank you guys.
IMO.pod,
Yeah,
guys.
hashtag
Bye.
remove Alester.
Thank you guys. See you guys next week. Stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.